You don't have to work yourself into exhaustion to be a good teacher. You're allowed to take a day off, extend your break, go on your break early. You're allowed to honor your life outside of the classroom. Welcome to One Tired Teacher. This is episode 289, and I'm Trina Debery. Today, we're going to be talking about how easy it is sometimes to fall in that martyr category. It's like we wear that as a badge of honor. Like I stayed until 7. I worked the hardest. I worked all of my weekends. I have done every single thing possible, and I am the best because of it. It's like, no, we don't have to sacrifice ourselves to be effective, to be good teachers. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I hope you stick around.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Debery.
Hey, so teaching culture can quietly tell us that we should sacrifice everything. It feels like that's the system that we're in, that you're only a good teacher if you are a martyr, if you are sacrificing your family and yourself and your soul and your ability to go to the bathroom or your ability to take a day off when you need one. And I can remember when I first started teaching, even early on in teaching, when I would kind of judge veteran teachers who would leave on time. I would actually think to myself, well, they must not be a good teacher because they're leaving at 3:15. How could you possibly be finished with this job at 3:15? And I felt like a little bit of judgment about it. And I hate to admit that because, first of all, why was I judging anyone? But I feel like in a scarcity mentality, which is where we're always seeing a lot of lack, or I don't have the resources or the materials, or they're getting something that I'm not getting, which feels like it's like that's the culture in a school system. Part of that is not because we're just negative people. It's because there is a scarcity. So having a scarcity mindset is something that almost accidentally happens because there is a scarcity. There's not enough resources or not enough materials. We are being treated less than in regards to other things. I mean, I think I've told you the story about how as a second grade teacher, we were considered the second string players. Like, who says that? The second string players? What a defeating feeling. So there is a scarcity. So that's why we have a scarcity mentality. And so that kind of makes sense that we, think we should be a martyr. And, the more we give up, the more we sacrifice for this job, the better we are. And that is not necessarily true, and it's not necessarily healthy. In fact, it can be really toxic because teachers, you're allowed to take a day off from the classroom. Teachers, you're allowed to extend your spring break beyond the classroom. If you need a few extra days from before you go back, hey, that's okay. You're allowed to leave work at work. You're allowed to take care of your family. And sometimes I really think that we forget this, or that it's so conditioned in our brains and in our minds to do above and beyond, and we're always asked to do more with less. And it's really exhausting. And that leads to burnout. Not burnout from our own. It's not like we're doing that on purpose. It's no fault of ours. It's when you expect so much yet you give so little, that's what happens. I have a friend currently. This is another example of where it feels like, are we supposed to be proud of the fact that we're accepting such crappy behavior? I have a friend who is a special area teacher, and she currently has 60 students almost every period of the day. They doubled classes. They doubled up her classes. And on top of that, she now has even more kids, more than double. So it's like 2.5 classes every day, every period. And I'm like, why are you not speaking up? Why aren't you saying anything? How is this acceptable? And that's the sad part, is it's like if you are willing to do anything, then it's like give an inch and I'll take a mile mentality. That's what it feels like. I can remember so many times thinking, if I do this day, they're going to see that I'm capable of it, and they're going to want me to do this every single day. And the thing is that sometimes we are capable of jumping in and all hands on deck, and we are capable of doing hard things, but that's in response to a really hard time or a crisis. We're in crisis mode. Let's take care of this. It's an adrenaline rush, and we've got to, chip in. But we shouldn't be functioning in crisis mode every single day. Here is an example of something that I hear very often, and that is teachers not wanting to take sub days, thinking that it's easier to come into school sick, or it's easier just to muddle through. Again, martyr, being a martyr. And I know how that probably feels when someone's like, if someone were to call me a martyr when I was teaching, I probably would have been really upset. It's not to make you upset. It's to have you think about, am I actually okay with, is it a reward for me to hurt? The more I hurt, the more I give, the more I sacrifice, the better I am. So it's just something I want you to think of. But sometimes when teachers don't think that they can take a sub day, and they don't think that they deserve it, or they have to justify why they're taking one, I just want to say, you're a human being. You're allowed to be sick, and you're allowed to actually decide one day that you just need a mental health day, or that you just need a day to watch the Gilmore Girls in your pajamas on the couch all day long. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to take care of yourself. You're allowed to step away when you need to. You're allowed for emergencies that don't have to become chaos. They can just be situations you planned ahead for. You can protect your mental health. That's why I think it's so crucial to have sub-plans set in advance, like emergency sub-plans ready to go. I always had to do 5 days in my school where it was I always did a little bit of language work or word work, and then it was reading, writing, math, science, social studies. I didn't always do science and social studies in my emergency sub-plans. I did science or social studies. And I had a sub-tub that I would have in case I needed it. And so I allowed myself to take a day. And I didn't have to be a martyr and come to school sick or drag my sick child to school. Although I've done that. I did that. And then I realized I don't have to do that. I am an adult. I'm a responsible, effective teacher, and I'm allowed to take a day off. I'm allowed to take a week off, and I'm going to be prepared for those moments. And that's why I would have my emergency sub-plans, which I've talked about before, and you can find them in my shop, Trina Debery Teaching and Learning on TPT. And I also have specific sub-plans for April and May. And since we're in April, I just thought you might want to know. Inside those 5 days of sub-plans for April, you will find a superhero theme. It kind of follows my end of the year superhero week, theme week. And it has a lot of really good stuff from my theme week, my superhero theme week in the April subplans. And to be honest with you, the subplans are actually cheaper than the end of the week or end of the year theme week of superheroes. So just a little heads up. That's only for my One Tired Teacher listeners. So that is available. It's got lots of good stuff. It doesn't have every single thing that you would find in the end of the year theme week, but it does have a lot of really good stuff. And in the May subplans, you're going to get almost all of the camp end of the year. And that one is my favorite. It was my first thing I ever created on TPT was my end of the year camp theme. And that, talk about a way to end the year. Oh, so awesome. Anyway, a lot of those activities are in the May subplans. And again, you can find them in my shop on TPT. Now, for April, I have an April freebie, and that is editable camp awards. You actually get the editable version on Canva, and you can do it whatever you want with them. So these are great for the end of the school year. It should feel joyful and not overwhelming. And these editable camp theme classroom awards are designed to celebrate students in a fun, meaningful way while keeping things simple for teachers during a very busy time, the final stretch of the year. And guess what? It's coming, people. Instead of complicated ceremonies or time-consuming planning, these awards let you recognize each student with warmth, humor, and personality. So you can grab those at TrinaDeberyTeachingandLearning.com/camp awards. All one word, camp awards. I wanted to make it easier and not put a dash in the middle. So camp awards, you can grab. You can also check them out in the show notes. Okay, so I want you to remember, if you think of nothing else from this episode, teachers deserve rest too. Classroom work, teaching, it's a lot. It's hard. And you deserve to have a little break every once in a while. And if you're sick, you definitely deserve to be home and rest. And that's why I think it's really important to have those prepared subplans. That way, if you wake up in the middle of the night with a massive sore throat, or your child is coming into your room throwing up or screaming out your name, you are all set. All right. I hope that you remember that. I hope that you hold on to that. You don't have to be a martyr. You get to be the amazing person you are without the martyrhood. I don't know. Anyway, you know what I mean. You're getting close to the finish line. Remember, you don't have to carry the entire school year on your shoulders to finish well. You're allowed to laugh with your students. Keep things simple and leave work at work sometimes. Teachers deserve happiness too. I'll talk to you next week. Until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight.